Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com back with some Pittsburgh news recap and analysis of their big Week 15 win over the Tennessee Titans 19-13. Pittsburgh goes to 7-6-1 on the year, keeping their playoff hopes alive. A big win for Pittsburgh. Let's talk about it. No team knows how to win ugly the way the Pittsburgh Steelers do, and it took every bit of four takeaways and situational football overall to still just squeeze and eke out a win in typical Steelers heart attack fashion. That was the story of the game, essentially. Wore four takeaways, and some of those were self-inflicted wounds by Tennessee, but Pittsburgh made their plays. Whether you're talking about, Arthur Millette forced fumble, Cam Sutton's forced fumble, Taco Charlton's deflection, those were all big time plays, and they weren't necessarily always, the stars, the Haywards, the Watts, the Minkas. So those three guys played well overall in this one, but it was good to get some complimentary performances by some of those guys and guys that have struggled, like Sutton, who came off his worst game of the season against Minnesota. Not to say those guys were perfect, and this defense far from perfect overall, but they did play really good situational football. They got some pressure, they got red zone stops, and they got takeaways. And you do that in today's NFL, you're generally going to win, even whenever you allow 201 yards rushing the way the Steelers did. So run defense still bad, not quite as bad as it was against Minnesota and like the Lions game, for example, where they were getting explosive plays and 40-yard runs and those kinds of things and touchdowns. It wasn't to that degree. It was more, I don't want to say death by a thousand paper cuts because Tennessee still averaged a healthy, I think, 4.9 yards per carry, but it wasn't the triple explosive kind of plays that Pittsburgh's been allowing all season long, essentially. And Minka Fitzpatrick, 14 tackles today, 12 of them solo. It's unfortunate he leads a team in tackles this season, but it's good to have 39 back there. His tackling has been probably the most important thing he's done this year, more than any of the interceptions and fumble recoveries. The takeaway numbers obviously not as strong this year as they have been, but man, you needed him in the back end to really make some of those key tackles to not allow those 10, 12-yard runs going to, you know, 30 plus yard runs the way they have been in recent weeks, and so having Fitzpatrick back there is critical and vital. And then I thought Watt played a good game, Kim Hayward played a good game. Thought some of the D line guys did okay, Wormley, Loudermilk. So not really sure where the run game issues went wrong. Some of the backside runs were available there, guys not squeezing and flowing. So I think there was maybe a collective issue there. I'm guessing some of the linebackers had issues getting off of blocks. I know Pittsburgh certainly was trying to shoot gaps and get penetration in this one, and when you do, you can't blow the play up. But whenever you miss and you can't get home or it gets blocked, the running back bounces and finds a lane, then you're going to be in trouble. So overall, I just want to see better pursuit, better gang tackling, some better effort, some weird stuff going on there. That one fourth down run that Donta Foreman playing on one ankle had, he stopped a yard in the backfield. I can't bring him down. He gets a first down. That's just not acceptable. So run defense still a problem, but you get four takeaways, you get some pressure, you give your offense a short field. That's a good recipe overall. And to get Tennessee 1 of 3 in the red zone, I believe, or actually 1 of 4 because that the last stop there. So I believe 1 of 4 in the red zone. That was obviously really really critical, and you kept the score down, kept your team in it, and allowed Pittsburgh to get back into the game again on the backs of those four takeaways. Offensively for the Steelers, man, there's just not a lot to note here. The run game was non-existent, not a surprise. Tennessee had a top five run defense. They're really sound. Pittsburgh's not, and so I'm not surprised by the really lack. I think Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson had the longest runs of the game for Pittsburgh. Harris did not much of anything in this one on the ground or through the air, for that matter. And there really isn't a whole lot to know. Pittsburgh couldn't really capitalize. It does suck. You get four takeaways, three in the second half, and you can still barely win this one. You win it by six. You get four takeaways like that. You should be winning by multiple possessions, not squeaking out wins in the final 30 seconds of the game. But such is life for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season to kind of steal the Tomlin quote there. So I don't really have a whole lot to note for this offense overall. Really bad situationally. They started the game over 6 on third down. I believe they ended, I think it was 2 of 12 or 2 of 11, and their only two conversions came off a penalty, came off, I think, PI calls. And so they did not really have one successful third down conversion the entire game. They got behind the sticks a lot. They were playing third 8 a lot, third and 10, things like that. They weren't throwing at the sticks. Guys weren't getting vertical and trying to have power to get upfield. A lot of guys running east west, Najee, Deontay, James Washington in this one. So all those were issues, but yeah, just bad first down offense leads to typically bad third down offense, and that was a story in this game. Quick note on special teams. Kudos to Chris Boswell. He was excellent kicking in December. around Christmas time at Heinz Field. No easy feat. Weather wasn't a major issue today, but it's always tough on Heinz Field in that kind of season. And so to get a couple of 40-yarders in the second half was definitely big for him. And Presley Harvin III continues to struggle. He probably had his worst game of the season, a 32-yard punt, a 27-yard punt, and one that got returned back 55 yards, plus a penalty. That's probably less on Harvin and more on the coverage unit, obviously. But overall, that aspect, the punting unit for special teams on Sunday was abysmal and one of the worst parts of this team. So overall, Pittsburgh gets the win, and you didn't really care how you get it. That's kind of the MO the rest of the way. Just get victories. It doesn't really matter. Points don't count or anything like that. When you're just down the stretch, you're trying to scratch and claw and get your way back into this race. And again, I was wrong on my prediction, so I'm a solid 0 for 4 with my last 4 predictions. So just do the opposite of what I predict, and it's a pretty good streak. I like to think I'm 4-0 in the opposite of my predictions. That's the way I'm going to look at it. But hopefully, I'm better analyzing this game than I am predicting this game. We'll of course recap this one for you guys throughout the rest of the week. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon.